Online, people mock Matt Rife's John Lennon tattoo constantly. They say it looks rushed. They say it barely resembles Lennon. It shows up in comment sections as a punchline, and Rife laughs along with the joke every time it comes up on stage. What almost none of those comments mention is why he got it. That question has an answer. It has been sitting underneath the original Instagram post for more than 2 years. Almost nobody bothered to read it. Rife has said publicly that he grew up without a father. His dad died by suicide when Matt was 1 year old, at 20 years old himself. After that, Matt and his mother moved in with her father, Steve, and stayed there until Matt was 5. Most people would expect the closeness to fade once the family moved out. It did not. Rife has described going back to his grandfather's house every weekend, even through his teenage years, just to watch movies together. That is not the kind of habit someone keeps up once visiting a grandparent stops being convenient. When Rife started making real money from comedy, one of the first things he did with it was fly Steve out to Los Angeles for the holidays. It was Steve's first time on a plane in roughly 40 years. Rife asked him what he wanted to eat in a city full of options. Steve said Olive Garden. At the time, Rife posted about it as a funny story, breadsticks included. It was the kind of post that gets a few thousand likes and gets forgotten. After Steve died, Rife reposted that same photo. The photo did not change, but it stopped being funny the second time, because it had become one of the last images of something that no longer existed. Steve died in February 2023. For someone who usually keeps moving, he stopped long enough to write about it once. Grief has a strange way of changing ordinary memories. The things people remember are rarely the big moments. They remember routines, the drive to someone's house every weekend, sitting through the same movies again because the person beside you enjoys them, asking where they want to eat and already knowing the answer before they say it. None of those moments look important while they are happening. They become important only after there are no new ones left to make. That is what makes the Olive Garden story different the second time Rife posted it. It was never really about the restaurant. It was about a grandson realizing that one ordinary afternoon had quietly become a memory he would never get back. When people lose someone close, they often cling to details that would seem meaningless to everyone else. A favorite song, a familiar joke, a place, or sometimes a face that deserves to be carried everywhere. When Rife posted about the death, he did not just share a single photo. He put up a small gallery pulled from decades apart. One showed Steve as a young man in the Navy. Another showed the two of them in a kitchen, Matt giving the camera the middle finger while Steve stuck out his tongue back at him. A private joke, caught mid-laugh, kept for long enough that it still existed on a phone when the person in it was gone. That kind of photo does not end up in a memorial post by accident. 1 month later, Matt Rife walked into a tattoo shop in North Hollywood and asked for a portrait of John Lennon on the back of his arm. The artist was Romeo Lacoste. When Rife posted the finished piece, he did not caption it like a joke. He used a line from Imagine. You may say, "I am a dreamer, but I am not the only one." And then he explained why. John Lennon was his grandfather's favorite artist. Lennon's pictures hung all over the house. The tattoo, Rife wrote, was there to remind him of their bond. He ended the post with 4 words. "I miss you every day, Papa." That is why the tattoo exists. Not because of the Beatles, because of Steve. If you enjoy stories like this, there's another documentary waiting on this channel. And that is also the part of this story that almost no one who jokes about the portrait has ever read. Rife posted it himself. He named his grandfather. He named the reason. The explanation was always there. One caption below the image that people spend their time criticizing. Now, here is where a lot of videos about Matt Rife's tattoos go in a particular direction. They look at the wolf on his arm, the line from Grease, the wrist tattoo no one can read, and they start assigning meanings. The wolf is probably about loneliness. The Grease lyric is maybe about heartbreak. The wrist piece could mean almost anything. This video is not going to do that. Not because those tattoos are uninteresting, but because there is no documented explanation for any of them. Evidence matters more than speculation. A wolf howling at the moon has never appeared in any caption, any interview, any post where Rife attached a meaning to it. He has had that tattoo for years. Not once has he explained it in public, and the absence of an explanation is itself data. Rife is not shy about words when he wants to use them. Stranded at the drive-in has sat on his arm since 2017, years before most people knew his name, with nothing attached. The wrist tattoo has been zoomed in on and frozen by fans for years, and still cannot be confidently read. Speculating about what those pieces mean would be exactly as reliable as the comment sections mocking the Lennon portrait without reading the caption underneath it. Because once you stop asking what every tattoo means, another question appears. Why did he explain only one? What can be documented is the pattern. Rife has several tattoos. He has explained exactly one of them. The one he explained is connected to the single most significant loss of his adult life, and he explained it within 30 days of that loss. Every other piece on his arms has stayed private, no caption, no story, no meaning offered to anyone who asks. That pattern tells you something, not about the tattoos themselves, but about how Rife handles what actually matters to him. He built his entire career on saying things out loud. His comedy leans on crowd work, on turning strangers into material in real time, on having almost no filter between what happens to him and what ends up on stage. Dating stories, family jokes, even the rumors about his own appearance get turned into bits eventually. But when Steve died, Rife did not build a set around it. He did not turn the grief into a special or a tour. He wrote one paragraph on one post, put a portrait on his arm, and went back to work. People are still making jokes about that portrait. Rife has never corrected them. He has never explained it in an interview. He has never brought it up on stage. He posted the caption once, in the weeks after his grandfather died, and that was apparently enough for him. The tattoo was always explained. It was just never explained on a stage. Because some things, for Rife, do not belong there. The Lennon portrait was never really about a musician. It was about the man who stepped in when no one else did. The man who watched movies with him every weekend for 30 years. The man whose first flight in 40 years ended at an Olive Garden in Los Angeles. People are still laughing at the tattoo. The answer was never hidden. The internet just preferred the joke. People are still making jokes about that portrait. Rife has never corrected them. He has never explained it in an interview. He has never brought it up on stage. He posted the caption once, in the weeks after his grandfather died, and that was apparently enough for him. The tattoo was always explained. It was just never explained on a stage. Because some things, for Rife, do not belong there. The Lennon portrait was never really about a musician. It was about the man who stepped in when no one else did. The man who watched movies with him every weekend for 30 years. The man whose first flight in 40 years ended at an Olive Garden in Los Angeles. People are still laughing at the tattoo. The answer was never hidden. The internet just preferred the joke.